while we're on the ballots, I do want to talk about naked ballots just real quickly. And if you don't know what a naked ballot is, it's basically the mail-in absentee ballots that would come back without the secrecy envelope. Obviously, this board in the past has always counted those ballots. That has always been my recommendation. However, the state Supreme Court ruling was that we can no longer count naked ballots, so ballots without those secrecy envelopes. Jamie and I had talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think that this really should be coming from the board. At this point, any naked ballots that we have received are ballots without secrecy envelopes. You can visually see it. First of all, the envelope isn't as heavy, and then you can actually see the ballot through it. We are not doing anything with those at this point. I guess I just want the board to either approve that or tell me, should I or should I not do something with those ballots, i.e. contact somebody. I have a plan in place if you want us to contact people, and I can go over it if you do. Otherwise, we're just going to unfortunately keep it as naked ballots, and then we're going to present them to you at computation, and they're going to be at this point most likely just not counted because they didn't follow the directions on it. Our biggest thing when we talked about this was that, can I guarantee every naked ballot that comes into us could be addressed with the voter? And I cannot guarantee that. Right. Obviously, the ones that are coming in sooner are easier to address. The ones that come in later, there'll be no time to address. So that's kind of where we are on it. Jamie, I don't know if you want to add your 2 cents on our discussion, but I guess I just felt like the board really should make that final decision, because it grates me to not allow someone's vote to count. And we've gotten probably about 20, 25 at this point that have come back that way. So I'll leave that decision to you.
Yeah, I agree with everything Mike said. He first talked to me about it because it's his nature to try to be as helpful as he possibly can, and his entire office be helpful to voters as much as they can. So the initial thought was, well, if we get a naked ballot, if we have an opportunity to contact someone, that would be great, and they could, rectify it. But as he stated, if the ones that he discussed that are either postmarked or have no postmark by November 3rd, if they come in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday after the election, there's no opportunity to correct those, and there would be then I guess open for criticism to say, well, you corrected some, and whose ballots were those, and then you didn't. I didn't have the chance to be correct, to correct mine. So it's just an inconsistency that it's unfortunate. We'd love to help and love to notify people, but if you can't get to all, it doesn't seem fair. Commissioner Litz has a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
Well, I could go along with that thought process, except I was made aware that a couple of ballots went out without envelopes, and people who voted their ballots and put them in the only envelope they received are not being given an opportunity to correct that ballot, which was no fault of their own for not receiving that envelope. And because of that, I think we have to err on the side of the voter and allow Michael to at least document that they've tried to make one contact, whether it's leaving a message on a phone or doing an email, but somehow one message at least to give them an opportunity to come in and open their ballot in his presence and put it into the secrecy envelope and reseal it.
What do you do with the ballots that come in on November 5th or 6th?
Nothing.
We could offer the same opportunity, letting them know that the deadline is such and such.
They may only have, some of those ballots you might only count even the following week of the 8th potentially, and then there's no opportunity. That was the discussion Mike and I were having, is that you could only help people up to a certain point, and then you can't. There's the clock runs out, and so it's only a portion of the electors that would be contacted, or a portion of those that have naked. These are just the naked ballots, so it's not.
And Jamie, I think it's just real important for me to note, though, we've had 3 calls of people that have claimed that I believe them, that they didn't get secrecy envelopes, and it was just missed, and it wasn't widespread. You know, and I understand what the commissioner is saying. I just wanted to know that I don't feel that that was, because if it was, I'd be the first person advocating for that. But what they are getting though is their instruction sheet, and right on there it says use a secrecy envelope, in which case then they should be really calling us and saying, where's the secrecy envelope? So I don't want to sway. I just think it's important that people on the board understands. I do not believe that was a widespread problem. I believe that you know, it does happen in just in human error of somebody when they're stuffing, forgetting to put that there. Was addressed with the vendor right away, and honestly, I think we got a total of three calls on it at this point. Doesn't mean it's not more. It just means that's what we've heard. And I think
those are 3 educated people that knew to say something.
Right, it was in the instruction sheet though. So I mean, I just want to make sure that that's clear on this discussion.
And if I'm not mistaken, Michael, you did indicate publicly that they could use a plain white envelope for the secrecy envelope. Is that correct?
That is correct, or we will provide them one. So we told anybody that we were in contact with, we would send it to them. They could come pick it up here, or they could use a plain envelope of their choosing to just make sure there was just another envelope in there. That is correct. And I was on Laura LeBeau's show and made that publicly to let people know.
That's where I heard you say that. Yes.
I was not aware of that at all. So as a commissioner, I had not been informed of that.
Well, you should listen to Laura LeBeau. That's all I can tell you.
Well, sometimes my
Commissioner
day's a
Phillips,
little
you had
busy,
another
Commissioner.
question?
I'm not understanding what wasn't communicated, but yeah, I just, you know, that's anybody that we tried to make that known right away so that people understood there wasn't, well, first for me, it's just wanted people to know that there wasn't any conspiracies of anything. It was just a mistake that was found, and this is what we were doing to correct it.
Have you done a press
Commissioner
release
Phillips,
to
you
this
had a
effect?
question.
Has a press release gone out about using the plain envelope?
I did not do a press release because honestly, Commissioner, I didn't feel it was a widespread issue, and I didn't want to cause some type of panic on it. I mean, we can do whatever you guys want us to do at this point, but with the board, but I felt like it was just onesie twosies here and there. And the instruction sheet clearly says to use a secrecy envelope. And if they don't have one, I would hope that people would understand to call us and just not avoid it. But that's why we're here. That's why I wanted to bring this up.
I would suggest that you do a news release and instruct people that if they've already sent it in without one, to call you and get it straightened out. And that if we have to do more than just on Laura LeBeau, and I do occasionally listen to Laura, but I can't be listening to her every day because of my schedule. But other people don't know it either, and that's not fair. I mean, even though it says it on the paper, everyone else got that envelope, and I think we're leaving ourselves open to challenges. And people will say, I didn't get it. I didn't know. It wasn't very well known at first, and it needs to be addressed.
What does the law say, Michael, in regards to this?
As far as the secrecy envelope?
Yes.
Well, the state Supreme Court says that we cannot count a ballot if it's invalid if they do not use a secrecy envelope. It's very clear on it. And I don't know if there's anything that says we have to provide one. I mean, I don't know enough to be able to tell you that. You know, as far as, I guess that's why we're here. If you want this, I don't think honestly a press release is something that we should do. I think what we're here to determine is, do we contact the people where we get them back from? If we do that, then I think it covers it. That's why I wanted to bring it up. You know, Jamie and I had this discussion, but I wanted the board to make the decision. Do we address naked ballots? If we do address them, it would be, they would have to come here. They would have to provide ID, and they would have to then in front of us correct it when we give them a secrecy envelope. That's where we are on it. We could get the solicitor involved if you would want. As far as if you think there's some kind of legal issue there. But that's kind of our stance on it. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I really don't think the issue was widespread as far as just those envelopes. So, you know.
May I?
Yes, please.
Did anyone claim that they didn't get the instruction sheet?
No,
Thank you.
not to us.
So if they're educated, they read that, that should be, notice that if they don't have that envelope in there, that they should call you and get an envelope or use the white envelope or whatever provisions you've made for that. So I'm good with your plan, Mike.
Just for clarification, Michael, you plan to notify everyone that you notice by, like you said, weight and thickness and so on, that it's not in an envelope. You will reach out to every one of those. Were you saying though that there would be a certain time after which you would no longer do that?
I think what I'm asking is, are we allowed? I mean, right now we're not, because we want a direction from this board. And I think that the conversation that Jamie and I had is we're going to eventually hit a deadline where we would have to stop because we're going to be past, basically, the time frame to be able to do it. I'm hoping it's not a big issue, but as Jamie said, I obviously want every vote to count if somebody has made the effort to do it. And I'm offering for us to be able to reach out to all of those people that have sent in naked envelopes to naked ballots, to try to get it corrected. But I didn't want to do that without your permission. And obviously we have computation where we address all of the returns with the board, which is normally sometime, after the election. That's going to get pushed back just because of these extensions of mail-in ballot deadlines. And then we're not even talking about the fact that by extending that mail-in ballot deadline by 3 days, it's going to push back provisional ballots and when they can be looked at, because they can't even be addressed until all mail-in ballots are addressed. So I think we could address most of them, but can I guarantee that we will catch all of them? I cannot. And that's, I believe, the sticking point of where Jamie and I ended our conversation and where we would need the board to make a decision.
All right. Well, I think the mere fact that you're doing that is above and beyond, or that we're at least considering doing that, is above and beyond what the Supreme Court ruling indicated. And that merely indicated that if there's no secrecy envelope, the ballots are not counted. So you are willing to go above and beyond that in notifying as many of these folks as you can. So I think that should be sufficient. So if I can have a motion to approve that plan with notifying as many folks as is humanly possible, I would act on that motion.
Also
I
move.
would make a motion.
Do you
I'll
want
second
to?
the motion. I would like to amend it, though. I agree with what you've said, but I also believe, would like to add to the motion that a news release be done notifying people that if they do not receive a secrecy ballot, they can use a plain white envelope, but it must have a secrecy envelope of some sort. And B, if we have people who do come into the office, I also think a deadline of November 1st, which is when everything else that Michael's preparing is happening, should be included so that he has time to prepare everything else he has to on Monday and Tuesday. Jamie has his hand up.
Jamie.
Jamie.
There's a further question I have is, Michael, how will you practically deal with people coming in and opening their ballot, which is now a sealed ballot that's received in your office, and they're going to open their ballot and fill out and reseal it into a security ballot, and then reseal it into what? Because there's a ballot there that already has an affidavit filled out.
Yeah, using the same one, Jamie. So basically what we're doing is we have everything they've given us. So we tell them to come in with photo ID. They come in with their photo ID. We hand them back their ballot, and then we give them a secrecy envelope. So when I say ballot, their whole envelope that they have signed, we can see that there's no secrecy envelope. We tell them in front of us to open it. They open it. We give them the secrecy envelope. We turn away or whatever. They put it in the secrecy envelope. They put it back in that original ballot, and then they seal it in front of us. And then on the top of the envelope, we have them sign that they opened it, and then they sign their name. That's how we've been handling it. Because we had somebody, actually, we could catch it here. They came up to hand us signed their envelope that they didn't sign, and all they had done was put their secrecy envelope with their ballot in the drop-off box. So I ran down, got it, brought all of the stuff up, luckily it was just the only one in there, so I knew it was his, handed it to him. He then did everything in front of us and then resealed it and put it in there.
Okay.
And then I had him sign it. That's the only way I can be protected, that they say that they signed it. They're the ones that opened it ahead of time, not me. Oh, and just for Commissioner, Laura put on to the panelists that she did do a news story advising that a plain envelope could be used, and she would be happy to do the story again, and everybody should be listening to her show every day.
And Laura has her hand raised.
Before I take your question, Laura, just let me, while I have this thought, because sometimes I lose them, okay? Commissioner Litz, to satisfy your concern, I think what Laura has just offered certainly is helpful. And how about if we ask Lebtown to run something? Would that satisfy your need for publicizing this more?
Well, and the Daily News, I think, as well.
Nobody reads the Daily News. That's fine. Whatever. Yeah. Commissioner Phillips, are you willing to amend your motion to include this litany of things?
I'm reluctant to do that, but I will. I'm reluctant only because we have not had one request for an instruction sheet. So my assumption is that, they should have followed that instruction sheet, and that should be the end of it. But I will bow to the will of the other commissioners and agree to amend my motion.
Commissioner, can I ask to maybe have a compromise here that might help? Since the public notice has not been ran yet, and we'll run in the Lebanon Daily News and the Sun, may I add something to that notice? It's not on the one you just approved earlier, but may I add a line saying something to the effect of what we just talked about, and then we'll run that as part of the public notice. Would that satisfy that requirement?
Yes, you're talking about to use a plain envelope.
Yeah, I will add it to, so there's lots of instructions in the public notice that you just approved. I would just add it to this public notice that would go into the Lebanon Daily News and the Sun. I would add a line about envelopes, secrecy envelopes, naked ballots.
All right, that's a great suggestion. Yeah.
I'll re-amend my amendment.
Okay. And you'll second it, Commissioner Litz, is that right?
Yes.
Do we want to bring Laura in before we vote on this, because what she has might be appropriate to the motion? Laura?
Thank you. Hello. I'm curious to know, Michael, on the instruction sheet, does the plain white envelope message appear on the instruction sheet? See, because I don't think it did.
No.
So somebody wouldn't know.
No, but
it does. It's on. You have to use a secrecy envelope, absolutely, on the instruction sheet.
But it doesn't say you can use a plain white one if there's none enclosed.
Okay, I'm not gonna.
No, I only raise that issue because I know Commissioner Phillips, I agree with you. People should be smart, and if they have the instructions. I speak and read 2 languages, and I will just share with you that at the primary election, I sent my mail-in ballot back naked because I just filled it out and sent it in and didn't read the instructions. So I'm not sure that intellect necessarily, it should play a part, but sometimes people are just hasty and do these things. And I just was curious, is it against any kind of voter privacy regulations? I mean, could you post a list of names on the county election page? Like, these people, we need to speak to you regarding your ballot or anything like that? Or is that against the law?
Well, if they approve this, we're going to reach out to them. They provide phone numbers, email addresses on their application. So we would reach out to them, letting them know. I think that's better than putting a list.
Posting a list, yeah. No, that's not good.
I mean, my opinion.
I would
Okay.
hesitate before publishing a list of people who voted by absentee.
Okay. I
Certainly
just wondered.
solicitor, if that's something you want to pursue, but that sounds, I've never heard that.
Anything else, Laura?
No, that's all.
Well, thank you for your comments. All right, I think we're ready to vote on the motion then to have Michael move forward with his plan to deal with the privacy envelopes. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Michael, you got approval for that. Took a while.
Yeah, thank you. All right, last thing.